In a galaxy where empires crumble and decay amidst the pressures of constant war, there is one faction that stands as a beacon of hope and prosperity: the Tau Empire. By applying the unifying philosophies of the greater good that teaches that all sentient beings should strive to ensure the greatest good for the greatest number of beings, the Tau Empire has been able to develop a society that prospers in the face of adversity. It strives to expand the borders of its empire while absorbing other intelligent races and their cultures into their own. Now let's be clear, just because the Tau Empire is accepting of other alien races doesn't mean that they haven't been met with hostility. Like all empires, colonization and control is their primary goal, and in order to conquer these new planets, the Tau Empire relies on the Tau Fire Caste and its many auxiliary forces. Equipped with the most advanced weaponry available, the military caste of the Empire quells any and all opposition while simultaneously defending the dominion of the Empire. And it is these actions that we see on the tabletop. Each battle fought by a Tau player represents the defense or the expansion of the Tau Empire, and a player's warband is the unique military force that has been charged with securing victory for the greater good. And as the title states, I will be creating my own Tau army. If you guys like these videos, hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives and custom lore stuff. But let's get into creating a Tau army. Together we will be exploring the lore of the Tau Empire and building a Tau warband based on our favorite parts of the lore. And hopefully I'll be able to play it on the tabletop next month. Now there's a lot of places to start, but the advice I got from everyone in the community is to start with a Tau starter set. The cool thing about almost all Games Workshop starter sets is that you get a free HQ or a leader of your warband when you compare the actual prices of the set to the individual purchased models. The Tau Start Collecting box is no different. It comes with an ethereal HQ, a 10-man squad of fire warriors for your troop, and a 3-man unit of crisis battle suits as your elite. You see, just like I said earlier, each warband is a representation of a small portion of the Tau military force, and just like the militaries of today's time, depending on the nation, the army will have its own unique look. When it comes to the Tau Empire, the appearance and the combat doctrines are based on what planet the warband comes from. To figure out what these planets look like, we must understand how the Tau Empire operates. In the beginning, there was the home planet of Tau. From there, the empire spread to the surrounding areas, conquering the neighboring planets. The stable settlements that were able to establish Tau dominance either through diplomatic means or military means became known as sept worlds, and the star systems they occupied became known as septs. These septs require defense, and so each one has its own unique fire warrior caste that protects the main sept world and the surrounding areas. Once the ruling class known as the ethereal caste was satisfied with the territories conquered, the expansionary period was declared over, and the rule was consolidated within the Tau Empire's new boundaries. This has occurred 5 times throughout the Tau history, each one known as a sphere of expansion, and each one brings new septs into the Tau Empire's control. All of these septs and their sept worlds give us a lot of options for building our very own warband, but instead of adopting one of the already established sept worlds, which we covered in this video above, and which you can find in the Tau Codex, I think it would be way more fun to create our own. Our sept world was established during the Second Sphere expansion in the 41st millennium when the Tau Empire was first confronted by the Imperium of Man. The reason I chose this period is because during this time the Tau Empire managed to diplomatically fold over many human planets into the Tau Empire, and these conquests led to the Damocles Gulf Crusade, where the Imperium attacked the Tau in order to check their expansion into Imperial-controlled space. The crusade was very successful until the Imperium was forced to retreat because of the Tyranid invasion that drew their attention away from the conflict. This left a power vacuum, which the Tau filled and consolidated their hold on the human planets left behind to fend for themselves. Specifically, our soon-to-be sept world, which was once a forge world of the Imperium. But in the absence of the Imperium's protection, the diplomatic maneuvering of the Tau water caste turned the forge world into a powerful sept world where Tau and humans coexist. As you probably already know, a forge world is ruled over by the Adeptus Mechanicus. To put it simply, it's the human cult that worships technology, and it provides the Imperium with its scientists, engineers, and technicians. These forge worlds are important because they provide the industry needed to fuel the Imperial war machine. They build weapons, war gear, and pretty much everything that is technology. Forge worlds are also strictly monitored by not only the planet of Mars, which is the ruling power of the Adeptus Mechanicus, but also by Terra and the High Lords of Terra. It's a very oppressive and stagnant relationship that doesn't leave much room for innovation, and so when the ruling tech priest of the Adeptus Mechanicus on our soon-to-be Sept world were approached by the technologically savvy Tau Empire, they made the calculated decision to join the greater good. Our Sept world will be known as the planet of Shaimundus. Shai as in Chicago, so the realm of Chicago. With that bit of homebrew lore established, I think you guys can tell that my Tau warband is going to be heavily influenced by the miniature line of the Adeptus Mechanicus, so expect a lot of kit bashing as I try to build a Guayvesa-themed Skitarii/Tau army. But for now, let's focus on the leader of my Tau army, the ethereal Shai. After the success of the First Sphere expansion, the Tau Empire was motivated to embark on an even more ambitious period of growth. The Earthcast was pioneering a series of technologies that promised to make terraforming and colonization a much faster process. The Watercast was prepared with new diplomatic protocols perfected by the skills learned from the alliance with other Xeno races like the Kroot. The Aircast had finally mastered the use of near-light speed voidcraft, and the ranks of the Firecast were filled with billions of additional warriors, second from the numerous Sept worlds of the first expansion. With all of these resources built up, the Ethereal Supreme declared a second round of interstellar exploration. Preparation was so thorough that the Tau Empire experienced near-zero losses during the initial phase. It was reported that even the Orcs grew to fear facing the Tau's swift and strategic expansion. They experienced success after success until the last breakthrough of the Second Sphere expansion when they crossed the Damocles Gulf, a mysterious region of the galactic east that had long thwarted all attempts by the Tau to pass through. Once on the other side of the roiling and unnavigable space phenomenon, the Tau swiftly established many colonies and outposts. But there was another intelligent race that the Tau had very little knowledge of, but were in control of the majority of the region. It was humanity. At first, mankind didn't seem like it posed much of a threat. Those few planets that they encountered were primitive in nature and easily persuaded into joining the Tau Empire. These new members of the Tau Empire were called Guayvesa, translated as human helper. However, as the Tau continued their contact with mankind, they quickly realized that the humans they encountered were merely the lost remnants or willing outcasts of a massive galactic empire, an empire that was not as open and understanding as the Tau. One of the first hostile human planets was Shaimundus, a large and well-developed civilized forge world that once held strong ties to the Imperium of Man. Shaimundus was a true jewel unlike anything the Tau had discovered around the Damocles Gulf. Enormous hive cities sprouted out from the patchwork of adamantium and ferrocrete complexes that wrapped around the planet. Pipelines, resource channels, and enclosed highways formed a massive interconnected superstructure that was well protected by orbital defense arrays and massive patrolling warships. The first Tau exploration drones were intercepted and destroyed before reaching the system's edge. It took multiple petitions by the Tau Watercast diplomats to finally establish communication with the Forge World, but even then, the first manned mission ended in disaster when a Tau frigate entered a restricted area, and in retaliation the warships of Shaimundus opened fire on the diplomatic convoy and took the entire vessel hostage. With tension at an all-time high, the Ethereal High Council decided to assign a new leader to the colonization effort, and it seemed as if though fate was on his side when a mysterious force erupted somewhere on the opposite side of the Shai system, and through the cloud of ether, a massive orc rock hurled towards Shaimundus. The first to be assaulted was a research station on the ridge of the system. The humans were completely overwhelmed until the Aircast came to their defense. After a quick void battle, the Firecast were able to deploy in support of the research station, and leading the Tau force was the valiant Tau Ethereal. This was the very first time that the Tau witnessed the unwavering discipline of the Skitarii legions, protecting the research station. As the greenskins flooded the corridors of the station, eager to kill the last few human survivors, the Fire Warriors strategically lured the orcs away towards the dock bay, where they systematically purged the Xenos with heavy plasma fire. Before the second wave of orcs could arrive, the Ethereal managed to make contact with the last remaining tech priest and his small cohort. Together, both forces fought side by side against the second wave of orcs. After defeating the greenskins, the two sides met, and in gratitude, the tech priest awarded the Ethereal the Atticus Blade, an ancient relic of the planet of Shaimundus. In response, the Ethereal took on the name On-Shai to honor the planet's heritage. This blossomed into a trade deal, and then it turned into a full-fledged alliance within a couple solar years. The Tau established multiple embassies on the planet, and they were facilitating trade like never before. Shaimundus quickly became a powerful and rich planet, exporting resources to fuel the Tau's expeditionary forces into the Damocles Gulf. The tech magos of the Forge Fanes were allowed access to the extensive archives of the Tau Earthcast, and in a matter of solar months, the output of every manufactorum was doubled. Soon a fusion of ancient archaeotech and Tau technology created hope for a new innovative future. The ethereal Anshai, who had been seen as a hero for the people of Shaimundus, earned a seat amongst the ruling council of Tech Magos, solidifying the alliance between the two factions. Now all of these advances earned Shaimundus not just the attention of the Imperium of Man, who had embarked on the Damocles Gulf Crusade to reconquer its planets, but a far more sinister force whose schemes would soon reveal themselves. It was the Chaos God Tzeentch and his Chaos Champion Thamos that had twisted the webs of fate and sent the Orc invasion force towards Shaimundus. Unbeknownst to either of the two forces, the Alliance was fulfilling the prophetic vision of the Changer of Ways. Now that we have the background on Anshai, let's build him. Let's start off by painting Anshai's skin with a light blue, the standard color for all Tau. Once the skin is painted, next is the armor, which is a light purple. I finally decided to go with the purple color scheme that you guys were suggesting in the comments. The cloth parts will get a tan color. The arm accidentally came off, so I'll take that as a sign to paint it separately from the rest of the body. Next comes black for the staff and the other random bits on the hand. I didn't record this, but dark purple was used as the center cloth banner and then later on for the flag as well. And finally, it's time to apply the first wash of flesh shade. I also added some Nolan oil and nightshade for the skin. Now that we have the lore to the leader of my Tau army, let's take a look at the troop choice, or in this edition, the battle line. Let's take a look at some Fire Warrior / Skitarii Goivesa. Skitarii Goivesa are the rarest Tau auxiliary force in the entire Tau Empire. Not only does a tech priest of the Adeptus Mechanicus have to betray the Imperium of Man and go against the teachings of the Cult Mechanicus in order to fuse with xenotechnology, but the Tau Empire has to trust the dangerous and erratic machinery of the Skitarii. When both forces synchronize, the result is an almost unstoppable military force that fights with great zeal and the clever military science of the Firecast. The Imperium goes to extreme lengths to destroy these types of traitors, and for the most part, the Cult Mechanicus destroys any evidence of their existence. In the short time since the Tau Empire's expansion, there is but one Skitarii Goivesa force that has managed to evade punishment and is a beacon of innovation and cooperation with the Tau Empire. It's the military force of the Sept world of Shaimundus. After losing countless planets in the Damocles Gulf region of the Ultima Segmentum to the expanding Tau Empire, the Imperium of Man reacted with its usual brutal and subjugating military might. It launched the Damocles Gulf Crusade to reconquer their planets and to punish the Xenos for entering their realm. Now, the loss of a subsector of space was nothing new for the Imperium. In the 10,000 years since the Great Crusade, countless systems had been lost to Xeno warlords, rebellious generals, or warp storms. But every single time, the might of the Imperium would rise up to exterminate the usurper and reconstitute the Emperor's lost worlds. However, things were different during the Damocles Gulf. For the first time in humanity's history, the population of the majority of these planets were willing fighters of their Xeno conquerors. Although the Imperium hates to admit this, the Tau Empire's diplomatic witchery was incredibly successful to the point where the Tau's military forces were bolstered by human mercenaries. For the Tau, these human soldiers were called Goivesa. To the Imperium, they were simply traitors. The offensive acts witnessed by the Crusade forces on these planets sickened every loyal servant of the Emperor. Tau and guardsmen fighting side by side, interchanging not just weapon, war gear, and strategies, but every aspect of their lives became blended into the Tau culture. Now, exterminatus was too kind of a punishment for these traitors. Public executions of humans and their Xeno comrades after pacifying a world became a required mandate for the Crusade. To get more information on this crusade, check out our 40 facts on the Damocles Gulf Crusade. I'll put a link up above or in the description below. But the most shocking discovery for the Imperial forces was the encounter of Skitarii Goivesa on the Sept world of Shaimundus. The news that the Forge world of Shaimundus defected to the Tau Empire was not only disturbing to the High Lords of Terra, but it also sent shockwaves across the priesthood of Mars. The Fabricator General sadly concluded that Shaimundus had succumbed to the trickeries of the alien machine, and their quest for knowledge was now a perversion of the true path of comprehension. The Forge World would have to be stripped of all of its sacred technologies, and any machine spirit not created by the Omnissiah would have to be destroyed. A total of 4 fleets were dispatched to punish the planet and execute every magi and priest on the world. Forces from the Collegia Titanica, the Centurio Ordinatus, the Legionis Scutari, and the Legio Cybernetica were prepared to reconquer this Forge World. Back on Shaimundus, the ethereal Onshide readied his forces for the inevitable Imperial assault. Not only was the Forge World's already formidable defenses bolstered by the Aircast fleet, but the priesthood and the Earthcast managed to create marvels of military engineering in the form of new hybrid weapons of war. Among them was a Guevesa Scutari force unlike anything seen before. These were unstoppable cyborgs with fanatical faith in the greater good. Using human-augmented stock, the Scutari Guevesa were implanted with quantum bioware in their brains that fed them the tried-and-tested strategies of the Firecast. These cybernetic soldiers possessed a complete understanding of the way of the patient hunter and the killing blow as soon as their pale, almost translucent bodies were dropped from their vat birthing pots. To protect them, the Earthcast bestowed onto these warriors a high-tech energy-absorbing polythene coating that formed over their bodies to act as an inner padding and shield. This helped blunt trauma effects from high-velocity impacts. To make their inner layer even stronger, the tech priests performed an immersion ritual that transmuted a gelatinous layer of flexible ceramite that formed a level of protection from the harmful emanations of the soldiers' own radioactive weaponry. And above this inner layer, the Earthcast equipped these mercenaries with an overlapping ultra-dense nanocrystalline metal that contoured to form a hybrid warsuit. Like the Fire Warriors, these cyborg soldiers were given an elongated and thickened left shoulder plate that acted as additional protection when the Scutari was kneeling to fire. On this plate and on the chest, the holy symbol of the greater good was displayed to showcase the warriors' devotion to the Tau Empire. All of the standard systems like the communication equipment, the night vision sensors, the targeting and rangefinders that were normally found inside of a Tau Fire Warrior's helmet were hardwired into the Scutari's skull. This integration made it possible for the Tau commanders in charge of the Scutari teams to form a quick visual uplink and always see what the soldiers were experiencing. By having a Fire Warrior commander fight alongside each team, it frees up computing space for the tech priest who requires more attention when operating the more cumbersome weapons of war. These Tau commanders must be equipped with an enhanced data tether and other systems to ensure that the Scutari Guevesa obey orders without hesitation. It takes the form of a backpack that is wired with a Neuralink. These Scutari Guevesa teams are equipped with an experimental and highly dangerous hybrid pulse weapon. The weapon works similar to a normal pulse rifle, as it generates an electromagnetic induction field that propels a subatomic particle through the barrel. The particles themselves then form into a hyper-irradiated plasma that burns hotter than a standard Tau pulse, but gives off a deadly amount of radiation. Luckily for the entire team, the armor protects them from this dangerous hybrid weapon. And it was these foot soldiers that were prepared to march into battle against the forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus and defend the sacred world of Shaimundus. Now that we know the homebrew lore to my Scutari Guevesa force, let's build them. First thing I'm going to do is take a look at the options that came in the Fire Warrior and the Scutari kit, starting with the legs. Now the Fire Warrior legs have some awesome looking armor and they have hooves, but I don't want to go with the Cyborg Tau, I want to go with the Cyborg Human, so I'll be using the legs of the Scutari. Not only are they more robotic, but they also make the Scutari Guevesa taller, which is lore appropriate. Fire Warriors are usually short and stocky compared to humans. For the torso, I will be using the chest of the Fire Warrior, as it has iconography or the aesthetic of the greater good, and it just looks like it's better armored. And instead of the Fire Warrior helmet, I will be using the Scutari Vanguard heads. I will just have to make some minor modifications by cutting into the neck, so that the Vanguard head doesn't look too big on the actual torso of the Fire Warrior. The rest of the pieces for this model will come from the Fire Warrior kit. I definitely want to use Tau weapons for this unit, as it more than likely will always be played as a Fire Warrior team on the tabletop. After I do a quick little dry fit with sticky tack to make sure that everything looks good, I glue the main parts together and it's ready to paint. Now, I decided to paint the arms separate from the rest because it's easier to access the torso if I paint everything separately. I know because the gun goes across the chest, if I assemble everything together and then I paint it, it'll be harder to get the details of the chest. I primed the model gray and then I started by painting the helmet a tan color. I personally always like it when the head of the mini looks different than the rest of the color scheme. Usually that brings a lot of attention to the face of the warrior. Next, I went with black to paint the machine bits like the legs, the wires, and the guns, and later on I'll probably dry brush this with a metallic. Then I paint the clothing bits with a dark gray. Using gray, tans, browns, and blacks for the less important parts of a model is great because it allows more vibrant colors to pop if you have a proper color scheme. For me, the main color is going to be purple, which is next, as I applied it to the armor bits of the model and just random pieces that I think deserve the main color. Once the base colors are done, it's time to add Rakelin Flesh Shade to the purple bits to create a light maroon. This is the same color scheme that I went with the Ethereal on Shy. I really liked it, so I'm going to continue with this. And then the same wash was used on the helmet. Even though it was tan, it still gave a really cool looking color. The secondary wash is Nolan Oil, but it only gets applied to the clothing bits. Now I dry brushed first the metallic silver on the gun and the metal bits, and then using the same purple as before, I dry brushed that on the armor in order to bring back that purple color behind or underneath the wash. Once both of those were dry, I applied a very light dry brush of white on the armor bits. It's very light, I just want to catch the trim and the highlights of the model. I was then finally able to glue the arms and the shoulder plates to the main model and then finish up with a little bit of highlighting details around the helmet and the metallic bits. My goal for this was tabletop ready because honestly that's all I can do at this point, but once I was satisfied with everything, I glued the model to its base. And there you go, the first Skitarii Guayvesa unit. And that's the beginning of me creating a Tau army. I hope this video is helpful to you guys if you guys are trying to create your own custom army for whatever faction. Subscribe to the channel because we will be posting more homebrew style lore videos geared towards helping you create your own armies within the universe since there's so many new players. And again, more deep dives in the lore to come. So subscribe to the channel and we'll talk tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate signing out. Oh, I used to put my